In our last session we understood about how to create a table, but we have to understand one more important topic in creating a table, right? So that is technical setting. Okay, so let's understand about technical setting today. So what is the use of technical setting? Okay, it defines how the table should be created in DB. Okay, how the table should be created. Okay, not only in database, even in application layer, right? So importantly in a database. Okay, so for example, 1 minute, it's slow. Okay, for example, table space or buffering, or what should be the initial memory of a table, or whether the table is column store or it should store the data in a old fashion like row store. Okay, so what are these? Let's see in the system. So maybe I will use the other one which we used in the last class where we created the table. So let's go to SE11, and then here this is the table that we created, and now here is the technical setting. See here, click on the technical setting, and without technical setting you cannot activate it. Okay, in the last class I just provided some value here, but it is a mandatory. Without technical setting you cannot activate. You see there is a star, that means it's a mandatory field, you must have to enter it. So you can see here in the technical setting there are two tabs. One is general properties, other one is DB specific property. This you don't have to worry now. If you are going to take ABAP on HANA, I'll explain it. In ABAP on HANA it takes so much time, I cannot tell you right now. Okay, so it is like column store or row store. Okay, it is useful when you are working in ABAP HANA database, if your SAP system is connected to HANA, but in your case it doesn't make sense because you are learning ECC 7.4. so now the logical storage parameters, under that there are two things. One is data class and size category. So what is data class now? Okay, very important, again it's interview question. So data class defines, I'll just maybe I'll take one more. So data class defines the physical area, okay, physical area of the database table where the table should be created. Okay, defines the physical area of the table in the database. Okay, in the database physical area is nothing but table space. Okay, table space, it defines the physical area of the table in the database. Okay, so that's what data class is all about. Okay, let's say to understand, this is our database. Okay, let's consider this is our database. Okay, so this is our database. So this table is divided into different table spaces. This is a database. This database is divided into different table spaces. That means the first one is like master data table space, where all the master data will be stored. Okay, so this is like master data table space. Okay, next one is transaction data table space. Okay, so where all the transaction data will be stored. The next one will be organization data table space. Okay, so where all the organization data will be stored. And another one, system data table space, where all the system data will be stored. Okay, like this SAP has divided the table into multiple table spaces. Understood? Understood? Database is divided like this as a multiple table space. Are we clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now so here when we create the table in data dictionary, right? So we have different table spaces, correct? These are the table spaces that we have, or we have the tables in the data dictionary. We create different types of tables. Do you agree? We create, right, to store different tables. Maybe to store master data you'll create, to store organization data or transaction data you'll create separate table, to store system data you will create tables, right? So let's say for an example, you will create a table to store master data. Okay, let's say let's name it as table 1. Okay, let's name this as a table 1, and one more is like table 2. Okay, you may create multiple tables in data dictionary to store master data, right guys? That's what we do, right, in S11, right? So where this master data should be stored? This master data should be stored in the master data table space, right? How do you tell the system that this table should be stored in the master data table space? By providing the data class. Understood? Are we clear or not? Hello?
Yes, sir.
All of you understood what is data class now? Very important for interview.
Yes, sir.
Like this, you may create different tables. All the tables will be stored in their own table space. Okay, like this. To specify where the table should be stored, in which area the table stored, in which physical area of the database the table should be stored, you have to provide the data class. So let's provide. So here you can go and select. Okay, I think the connection is lost. Let me re-log into the server. So APPL0, that was we selected. You can see here you can select master data, organization data or transaction data, and some of the tables are related to BW. Okay, if you are going to create any BW tables, you can select that. In our case, the sales order header data is a transaction data, right? Sales order data is not an master data, it's a transaction data. Let's select the transaction data. Okay, and next is size category. Okay, so what is this size category? Let's understand. This is also important. What is size category now? Okay, it is used to define the or let's also say reserve the initial memory of the table. Okay, it is used to define or reserve the initial memory of the table. That's what the use of size category. Understood? Initial memory, it doesn't mean that you're going to restrict the number of rows that you're going to store. It is just to reserve the initial memory at the time of let's say if you're creating a table now, what should be the memory allocated in the database for this table? That's what you're going to reserve here. Okay, there are different types, different numbers. If you select 0, that means the table can store 10,000 records. If you select 1, the table can store 40,000 records, like that. Okay, so based on this, SAP will allocate the memory for 10,000 records. Maybe it may allocate around 100 KB, like that, 100 KB or 1 GB, whatever, right? Maybe for 40,000 it may allocate 4 GB of data, like that. What should be the initial memory? Okay, that you can specify using size category. Understood?
So after 10,000 records,
So let's say for example you select 10,000, the first one. If you try to store more than 10,000 record, it will accept, but what happens, like system will allocate same memory. Okay, let's say what happens now, is your database. Okay, let's take the table 1 and table 2. So for table 1 you have selected 0. Okay, that means 10,000. Maybe let's consider for that 10,000 records system may need 100 KB or 500 KB of memory. Okay, if more than 10,000 records are stored, what happens, what system will do? If you try to store more than 10,000 records, after selecting 10,000, again system will allocate another 500 KB. Okay, it will keep on allocating small memory if you are trying to store more than the records that is been specified. Clear? If you select this, maybe this one, so system may allocate bigger memory size, like this. Right, this is how it works. But small memory if you are trying to store more than the records, more than what you have specified. Okay, so what is the disadvantage then? Why the other options we have if it is going to allocate extra memory, right? If system keeps allocating extra memory without restricting, then what is the advantage of it? Advantage of having the size category, right? Right, guys? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Then why we have the other size category? Any of you can guess why? I'll just take an example of pen drive, which is very easier to explain it to you. Okay, so let's say you have pen drive. One pen drive is around 32 GB, and also let's consider that we have around 30 GB of data, or let's say maybe 16 GB. Okay, we have 16 GB of data, and then this is 16 GB pen drive, and we have another 4 pen drives, that is 4 GB. Which is better? Where we will store the data and why you will store it? Which is better? 16 GB pen drive to store 16 GB data, or 4 GB pen drives to store 16 GB data?
So 16 GB.
Why 16 GB? Why?
Because again, for 4 GB pen drive again I have to pay. So it is better to buy 16 GB pen drive than to buy 4 GB pen drive.
No. So let's say if you store 16 GB data in 4 pen drives or 5 pen drives, then every time to access other pen drive data you have to plug in and plug out, right? That means data access becomes difficult. Do you agree?
Yes.
But if you have in one pen drive all the data, then it's easier for us to access, correct? The same way,
Yes.
when we write select statement on this type of memory, system has to scan all the memories because it is stored in different locations, correct? But here in this case, only if it is only one memory allocated, okay, then it will be very easy for select statement to access and scan one memory location, right? That is the difference. So but why don't we select then higher memory? If you are storing 10,000 record, if you select higher memory, then the memory of the database will be wasted, right? So that is why we don't select the higher memories. Are we clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts till now?
So that in while creating transparent table, that initial value, can you tell that, sir?
Initial value. What initial value? This one.
Key and then again initial value.
Key field and initial value.
Uh,
Okay, okay.
Key I know, initial value.
Okay, key field, you are aware, right? It is to identify the rows uniquely. So initial value is like to avoid setting a null flag. That means sometimes some data types, what they will do, if you are not storing any data, they will store null values. Okay, so instead of that, to tell the system don't store null value. If I'm not storing any value, store the default value of the character data type, or whatever the data type that you provide here, store the default value of it. That is what initial value flag will do. It is not only mandatory for key field, you can also set it for other fields also. It's not like you should only set it for this one. Basically we set it for the key fields because we don't want to store null values in the key field, right? So what happens, let's say for example this is a key field, and if you store null value, one null value, next time if you are trying to do the same, trying to store same null value, it will give dump because it cannot have duplicate null values, right? That means duplicate rows. So that's how it is. Understood?
Yes.
Yeah. So now let's go back to technical setting, and here we have provided this. Next is buffering. So what is buffering now? Heard about buffering any time? Buffering, anybody heard? So buffering is nothing but keeping the data in application layer temporarily. Okay, it's nothing but keeping the data in application layer temporarily. Okay, it's nothing but keeping the data in application temporarily. So let's say what happens, let's consider 3-tier architecture. Presentation layer, then we have application layer, and then we also have the database layer. Okay, so now whenever user execute any program, so what happens, or any user, let's say you have a program and then multiple users will be executing those, and also okay, so let's say multiple users, you have developed a program and then there are so many select statements, or there are select statements, and this program is executed multiple times in a day, okay, or maybe 100 times the program will be executed in a day, something like that. It will be executed most of the times, okay, and the databases are stored where the data will be stored in the database, sorry, where these tables are stored, the tables are stored in the database, correct? This is where the tables are stored, right? This is where the table will be storing the data. Okay, let's say Mara, and then you have some other tables like Marcy plant table, storage location table MARD, and then maybe the description table MAKD. You have different tables like this, okay, you have different tables. Okay, so all the data is stored in the database. All this data stored in the database. So now if you have written select statement, so what will happen? Every time that user execute the program, okay, so every time it has to connect, the request will come from the request will come from the user. Okay, user will make or click on execute button in the presentation layer, and that request will be sent to application layer if there are select statement written, right? So if there are select statement written, it has to connect, it has to establish a connection to the database, and in the database it has to go to table and get the data and process it here, and then send the result back to the presentation layer, right? So let's consider here to fetch the data from the database to application layer, it will take 5 seconds. So if the program is executed 100 times or 1000 times per day, 1000 into 5, 5000 seconds, right, just to get the data from the database, right guys? Or let's say it takes maybe 5 minutes, right? If the select statement itself is taking 5 minutes, if the same program has to execute 1000 times, or the select statement that we have written on Mardi takes 5 minutes, and this select statement is used in 100 programs, and those 100 programs are used by 1000 users, it's very time consuming, right, all of you, right guys? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So how do we avoid the extra 5 minutes that is taken by the select statement written on Mardi, right? How do we avoid that? So rather storing the data only in the database layer, okay, if the table data is used very frequently, you can also copy that table data and store it in application layer, okay? We call this memory as a buffer memory. Understood? We call this as a buffer memory. Are we clear what is buffer memory? Hello? So rather keeping data
Yeah.
Yes.
only in the database layer, we also keep it in here, application layer. So now what happens? Since the data is available in the application layer itself, the request will come from the presentation layer, so it will check the data available in the buffer memory. If it is available, then it will take it and process it, and then it will send the result back to presentation layer. There is no connection to the database. So this is how it works, okay? Anybody any doubts now? And you also know that the application layer is like RAM, right? It is, this one is hard disk. If you know that hard disk is very slow compared to RAM, so RAM is 1000 times faster than hard disk, right? So application layer is 1000 times faster than database, so even it can produce the faster results, and then your program execute very fastly. So that is the advantage of buffer, but there is also one disadvantage, okay? So if you enable buffering for all the tables, what happens? What happens if you enable buffering for all the tables? Why we should not enable? Hello? What can happen? You can think. What can happen if you enable buffering for all the tables?
Performance issues, sir.
Sorry?
Performance issues.
Performance issue. Good. How performance issue will come? You're right. How?
Fetching the data. No.
Yeah, please. How performance issue will come?
Sir, it's not.
Sir,
Fetching
it's
the
not
data.
the database. No, sir.
First thing is that compared to database, RAM is costly, right? Compared to your hard disk, the RAM is costly. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if you are storing all the data in
Yes, sir.
application layer, that means company should invest more on application layer. Second thing is that if you store the data in application layer, every time you update the database table, there should be a program that will run and update the buffer memory, right? That means sync. It has to sync the data from database layer to buffer memory, right? So the program will take so much time for doing it. If it is few tables, then it can do it, but if there are so many tables, then it's a problem, right? Syncing problem. This is why we should be careful when we are activating buffering for the table. Okay, we should only activate buffer for the tables which changes rarely but used frequently. Understood or not? We only have to switch on buffering for table data which changes frequently, which changes rarely and used very frequently. Okay, only for this table you have to activate the buffering. You should not activate buffering for all the tables. It won't improve the performance, rather it will degrade the performance or decrease the performance of the programs. Okay, we only have to switch on the buffering for tables which data changes very rarely and used very frequently. Okay, even if you switch on buffering for the table data which is not used frequently, then again you are wasting a memory, right? So that is the reason. And there are different buffering types. You can see, let me log into the server. See, there are bufferings. The first one is like buffering not allowed, that means it is switched off. The last option is buffering activated, that means you're going to switch on the buffering for the table. If you select this, you have to select either this red checkbox. Okay, so buffering not allowed but switched off means initially for the table buffering is switched off and SAP delivers it to you or delivers it to customer, but you have option to switch on. Okay, so that is what the third option. Okay, let's understand again about this one. So just understand theoretically now, that's what important. So nobody will ask you in detail. They may ask you what is buffering, but I'll also tell you what are the different types of buffering and what are the uses of it, when to select which buffering, right? So let me just tell you quickly. Sorry, not SC38, I'm just used to SC38. SC11, and let's go here and go to the technical setting and then select the buffering. Okay, so after that, under the buffering types you have different types of buffering. Okay, so what is buffering type? Let's see. Guys, if you're not doing assignments, please start. It's really important. So buffering type defines how many records of the table to be fetched fetched when a table row accessed. Okay, when you access a table row, that means when you access a single row of a table, how many records or how many rows should be fetched and stored in the buffer memory. That's what the buffering types defines. There's a single record buffering, then generic area buffering, and then fully buffered. Okay, single record buffering, generic area buffering, and fully buffered. Okay, what is single record buffering? When you access a table row, let me also draw a picture. I need a bigger database table for this. I'll just delete this one. Maybe we'll expand this and store. This is how the data will be stored in the database, right? Rows and columns. Okay, let it be. Let's consider okay, so let's consider this, and maybe let's consider these are the key fields of the table. Okay, these are the key fields of the table. So now when you say single record buffering, so what is single record buffering now? So when a table row accessed, okay, when a table row accessed, okay, when a table row accessed, only one row will be fetched to buffer memory. Okay, let's say for example, when to use it, you have lakhs of records or millions of records in a table, and only out of millions records, only few records are used most. Okay, maybe 100 records are used most, not all of them. Okay, 100 different records are used most, not all of them. That's when you can go with single record buffering. Table data is too huge and in huge table only few rows or few records are used all the time, then you can go with single record buffering. Okay, so that means only one row will be fetched to the application layer. Okay, this is same row, and let's consider this is a different key field for this. Okay, maybe let's consider this as a different key field. Okay, this is what single record buffering. Understood all of you what is single record buffering? Only one row will be fetched to the application layer. Are we clear on this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
All of you clear? Okay, so let's do one more thing. Maybe I'll just keep it
Yes.
blue, but the last two rows, this one and this one and this one and this one, maybe the two columns data is changed, different. Okay, and then again here in this column data is different. Okay, like that, right? So to store unique row, the column data should be different, right? So let's say, yeah, this is different, otherwise this cannot be unique. Maybe in that case I have to change this rows to so like that. Let's keep it like this. So now when this single record buffering should be used, when table is huge and only few records of table needed most of the times. Okay, that's when you can go with single record buffering. Only the records that are accessed will be fetched and stored in the buffer memory. That is what single record buffering. It is very easy to understand. The next one, let's say this, to enable single record buffering you have to select the checkbox single record buffering. So next one is generic area buffered. Okay, in that case you have to provide how many key field system should consider for buffering. Okay, that means there are 3 key fields here, right guys? There are 3 key fields here, right? If you provide all 3, then it will not become generic, it will become unique. Do you agree? Against if your table is having 3 key fields, then if you provide all the 3 key fields, then it will only fetch one row, right? Against key field only one row can be exist. Do you agree or not? Hello? If you are not understanding, let me know.
Yes, sir.
These are the 3 key fields of the table. If you are not understanding, let me know guys. If you are understanding, say yes, we will proceed further. Are we clear on this? Yes, all of you? Okay, good. So these are the 3 key fields. So now when you include all the 3 key fields, let's say you have your table has 3 key fields and then you are putting 3 here, then it will not become single record buffering, it will become generic, it will become single record buffering, it won't become generic area buffering. So generic area buffering is nothing but, let's say for example, these are the 3 key fields. You don't have to put 3 key fields, maybe 1 key field data you don't have to consider. Maybe based on these 2 key fields you want to bring the data, right? So let's say I want to bring the data based on 2 key fields. So system will consider left justified key fields. When you put 2 here, your table has 3 key fields and then you put 2 here. So what system is going to do? Okay, battery low, just a minute. Okay, so what system will do? System will consider the left justified key fields. That means system will ignore the third key field and it will only consider these two key fields. It won't consider two from here. It will consider two from here. It will consider the left justified key fields. So when it considers the left justified key fields, how many common rows exist in the table? When it consider only two columns, how many common row exist in the table? These two, right? Do you agree? These two, right? So system will bring these two rows to the application layer and store
Yes,
it in
sir.
the buffer memory. This is what generic area buffering. Are we clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now what is generic area buffering? So when a table row accessed, okay, so it will fetch the what to say, let's see if I get some. Okay. I'll just copy this. I'm not able to make a sentence for this. Okay, so in a read access to the record of generically buffer table, all the records whose left justified part of the key generic area correspondings are loaded into the buffer. Okay, so that's what generic area buffering. I'll just keep it. Was not able to form the sentence. Okay, so let me just. That is what generic area. So this is used when this can be used again. When should be used? You see, there are so many options. Table should be buffered generically if usually only certain areas of the tables are required. Okay, maybe this point is more useful. There are other points also. If you want to read more about this, you can always use SAP documentation, right? That is F1. Just press F1 and then you will have the documentation for you. Okay, that's where you can read. This is the most I can say this is the best point. Okay, that's why I copied it. Okay, there are other points too if you want to, even for the single record buffering. You see, I press F1 and then go to single record buffering, and then you'll be there 2 points you can read here when it can be enabled. Okay, and the last one is fully buffered. So what is fully buffered? So when a row of a table accessed, okay, all the records of the table will be loaded into memory. Okay, so when a row of a table is accessed, okay, all the records of the table will be loaded into buffer memory. That means when you access single row of an table, it won't load single row, rather it will load all the table data into buffer memory. That is what fully buffered. Understood? Understood, guys? So here one more thing that I forgot to say, whenever you provide
Yes.
the field here, number of key fields, always do n minus 1 calculation. N minus 2 also you can do, it doesn't mean that you should not do. You can do n minus 2 calculation also, but we mostly do, depends on the requirement. Okay, I'll just put n minus 1. Okay, you can do n minus 2 also. N means number of key fields, 1 means how many fields you want to minus. If your table has 3 key field, that means minus 1 will be 2 key field, right? That's how it is. So when here it is very simple, all the data will be loaded into buffer memory. So when this can be used, you can also see F1 again. It's saying generically buffered. No, I want fully buffered. Okay, so you see complete table data will be loaded into buffer when you access a record. A record means single record, right? So when you even single record you read, you load all the data. When should you select? When the table is too small and accessed very frequently. For larger tables you should not select it, okay? And for tables with frequent access data, right? So basically guys, let me make it more generic to you. Okay, so when table size is small, you have few number of columns and few number of rows, then you can go with fully buffered. Okay, you can go with fully buffered. When table is small, then you can go with fully buffered. Understood? These are the different types of bufferings we have here. And the last, this is actually, yeah, please.
Hello, sir. Yes, sir. Can you repeat, sir?
Okay.
Once again, this generic buffering, sir. Left
Left
justified means
justified
what?
means, let's say your table has 3 key fields, right? You're telling us, you're doing calculation, that is 3 key field minus
Yes, sir.
1 key field, that is equal to 2, right? But your table has 3 key fields. Whether the system should consider these two last two key fields or the first 2 key fields, right? Understood? So now
Yes, sir.
what system will
First,
do? System will consider the left part of the key, right? Left justified key field, that means first 2 key fields. It will ignore the last key field. If you provide 1 key field, 3 minus 2 calculation if you do, then system will not consider these 2 key fields. It will only consider this one key field. Understood? That is what left justified key fields. Key fields from the left side.
Yes, sir.
Anybody any doubts?
It will fetch all the records corresponding. Sir, it
That
will
key
fetch
field,
all the
correct,
records
matching rows.
corresponding
Let's say
to
for
key fields.
example, you have 100
Okay.
and ABC. Okay, 100 ABC and 100 and BCD. And then 100 FGH, and then maybe here some other data like 1 2 3 4 5, some other data you have like this. Correct? So these two are the key fields of the table. Let's consider first 2 are the key fields of the table, or let's say all these 3 are the key fields of a table only. Okay, but there are other data here. Okay, so just consider there is also other data. So now if you consider only these 2 key fields, there are 3 key fields. If you consider 2 key fields, this 2 column data is same, right? 100 ABC and 100 ABC, right?
Yes.
So what happens then? These 2 rows will
Yes,
be
sir.
fetched to the buffer. So if you consider only 1 key field, that means all having 100, 100, 100. Okay, maybe let's say you have one more row like 200 and ABC and not having much space, ABC, and then maybe some data here. Okay, then what system will do? System will only fetch this 4 rows to the table if you consider only one key field. If you put one at the one here, if you put one here, this is what system will do. System will only fetch these 4 rows to here, that is generically matched values. Any doubts? Understood or not?
No, sir.
Clear?
Yes, yes.
No, sir. Yes, yes.
And the last two options
Yes.
in the technical setting is log data changes. Log data changes means whenever any changes that is made to the table using the TMG, you want to create and change document. Okay, in that case you can use the log data changes. Whenever any update or delete happens to the table, you want to create a change document, then you can select it. This option is actually absolute. This is not available in the latest servers. Even if you press F1, it says write access with the Java. Okay, that means you can only insert or delete the table data or update the table data using Java programs outside of SAP if you are accessing. Okay, you cannot do it with ABAP. So that is what write access. This is absolute. We don't use in the latest server. If you see, you will not see this option at all. Okay, and I was telling about DB specific property. This will be covered in my ABAP or another course if you are going to take. So this is what technical setting, guys, very important. So that's all for today. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. After technical setting, you can activate the table. So anybody, any doubts so far? Are we clear till now? Are we clear so far? All of you?
Yes, sir.
It's very rare, not every interviewer will ask this question, but I think once or twice I have faced this question. Nowadays I don't think they will ask it actually, but still let's not take a chance. What is buffering? And types, and also the differences sometimes. Okay, so this question they may ask on this topic, and on the data class definitely you will have a question, what is difference between delivery class and data class. Now you know what is the difference. And then what is size category? This one they will ask, what is size category? Okay, so that's all guys for today then. Thank you so much for your time. See you tomorrow. Bye bye and take care.